Just wait, I am opening the PPT. I hope PPT is visible. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, in first module, so the requirement for understanding the cast iron and steel are the grains or microstructure or crystal structure. So once you say crystal structure, don't think it is BCC structure or SCC structure or atomic structure. I am talking about the crystal or grain. Then you studied some defect in the material or imperfection in the material. Just you have started, you have given brief introduction. So the imperfection may be because of the substitution of atom. That is about a substitution solution itself. You have studied about liquid solution in chemistry. In the similar way, there is a solid solution. Like copper and nickel, if you are preparing the alloy of copper and nickel, the copper is major composition, nickel alloying element is in lesser percentage. Now copper becomes the solvent. This alloying element nickel is solute. You are using the two terms. One is solvent. Solvent you studied in your chemistry. That is in the liquid state, not in the solid state. But complete your material science, you are using the term phase. Again, you are talking about only on the most of the cases you are talking about the gaseous solid phase. And even though you are telling solution, solution refers to the solid solution. There are three types of solid solution. Solution means it's a mixture of two or more reactant, relatively two or more reactant. But when come to your material science, the reactants are, one is base metal and one more is alloying element. Again, similar to chemistry, we have solution. It is not liquid solution, it is solid solution. Solid solution consists of minimum two reactants. With respect to your chemistry, it may be two reactant. And finally, it forms one product. So when you come to material science, product is ultimately alloy. In simple way, we can say that in the case of solid solution, especially in the case of substitutional solid solution, I am talking about the substitutional solid solution. One atom is substituted by another atom. Or in the lattice structure, imagine we have the copper. Copper is FeC structure. Each carbon is having one copper atom. Once you add nickel in the copper alloy, copper molten metal of the copper, during the solidification of the alloy, this molten metal, some corner atoms of the base metal in the lattice structure is replaced or substituted by the alloying element. It is not like that. It is not like your preparation of the this RCC, reinforced cement concrete. The concrete is separate phase and metal is separate phase. Concrete is not dissolved in metal, or metal is not dissolved in the concrete. I am using the term dissolving. But when that is comes under the composite material. In the case of composite material, again there are two reactant or minimum two constituents. So one constituent is not dissolved in another constituent. Or in another way, even after fabrication of the composite material or after development or production of the composite material, the two phases, one is referred as matrix phase and one more phase is referred as the reinforcement phase. The both phases are separate. In one area there is a one, like you can imagine, easiest way to remember is your reinforced concrete, RCC. The steel is separate. You can take out the steel from the RCC. You can take out the concrete from the RCC. In the solid state itself, imagine you have a copper nickel alloy. In the copper nickel alloy, in the solid state, can you take out the copper separately? Only the copper atom separately, nickel atom separately. So it is not possible. Those are not of different phase. The copper and nickel atom, one atom is dissolved in the lattice structure. Your nickel atom is dissolved in the copper unit structure or unit cell. Some corner atom or phase atom of the copper lattice structure or unit cell is replaced by nickel atom. That is nothing but your solid solution. Once you say solid solution, it consists of both the base metal atom as well as alloy atom. But base metal and alloy atoms are dissolved in the lattice structure level or unit structure level. Don't think that copper atom is in the separate one. Nickel atom is nickel again. Nickel is also again BCC structure, a different issue. Nickel is, don't think that nickel is at certain on some region and copper is at some region in the metal. It is not like that. There is a dissolution, or one atom is dissolved by the another. The nickel atoms are dissolved by the copper unit structure, or one atom of the copper is replaced by nickel. Then it is referred as substitutional solid solution. So understanding those is very, very important, because we are talking about the application. Cast iron and steel are application of your material science. They're not fundamental. That's the application. We have metals, base metal and alloy. Those are combined and we form new alloy element. It has totally different properties. By changing the base metal, we can change the properties of the metal alloy, or percentage of the base metal, the alloying element, again we can change the properties. When you come to steel, or even for the cast iron, both are alloy of the copper and iron. The steel or even cast iron, both are alloy of cast iron, the alloy of iron and carbon. There may be some more alloying element that we'll discuss later. So now we have base metal and alloying element. Those are combined or processed, and finally we got one metal or alloying element that we can refer to as a steel, or that can be referred as a cast iron, like a bronze, copper, etc. or brass, etc. So now we are concentrating more on the alloy of iron. So that is carbon. We are using the term carbon steel. Once you say carbon steel, the major alloying element in the steel is copper. If you say nickel steel, the major alloying element is in the nickel steel. So if it is a chromium steel, once you say it is a chromium steel, the major alloying element, I am talking only about the alloying element, not major percentage. Even nickel steel, the major percentage of the metal is iron only. Even in the case of chromium steel, the major percentage of metal is the iron only. But when you're talking about the alloy, there may be some other alloying element also. We cannot have only 100% iron or 100% nickel alloy. Nickel in sense, so we cannot have the metal of only made up of only two metals, two constituents. So no other alloying element. You cannot have even to get 99% of purity of having only Fe and nickel. It is very difficult. Still, there may be small amount of impurity atom. It is very difficult to remove those impurity atoms. Percentage of other alloying element may be 0.001 or 0.1. But when you come to copper nickel, nickel steel, the alloying element, major alloying element is nickel. There may be some other alloying element of that you have to remember. So when you talk about, I am giving one example of substitutional solid solution. Example of substitutional solid solution is copper nickel. Then there is one more interstitial solid solution. So interstitial solid solutions, example for interstitial solid solution, I am giving the example of steel, or I am talking about the carbon steel. The carbon steel, there are two components. Now I am using the term the component. The one component is iron, and one more component is the carbon. You understood? Your understanding? Because we cannot remember, we cannot by heart all concept or later stage. When you come to application part, first you have to understand. When you come to carbon steel, once you say carbon steel, the major alloying element is carbon. Now we have two components. Instead of saying base metal and alloy element, I am saying two component. The one component, don't think that physical component like a steel rod, don't think in that direction. You are using the term component, means one of the constituent of the alloy. One of the constituent of alloy or one of the component of the carbon steel is the iron. Iron is the major component and carbon is one more component. Then where copper, can you say that once you mix carbon and iron during the production of steel, do you think that carbon will be in the separate layer and iron will be in the separate layer? So then if carbon is, suppose you are manufacturing steel, you are melting the iron, then after melting the iron, you are putting carbon to make carbon steel. So don't think that carbon is separate and iron will be separate, like your RCC. Your steel is separate and concrete is separate. From the RCC, you can separate out steel, you can separate out concrete also. Most of the time, when you are going for the demolition work, so they will take out all steel rods. Even Gujri people, they will take out all the steel rods, they will sell it to the Gujri shop. That means we can take out some component or constituents in the case of composite material, because steel is not having phase with the concrete. Steel is separate phase, concrete is separate phase. When you come to your this steel, there are two components. One is iron and one more is carbon. So when you come to steel, the carbon, I'm talking about carbon steel, the size of the carbon is very, very small. Just I'm giving example. If the size of the iron atom, if the diameter of the iron atom is around 10 angstrom, the carbon atom is maybe around only 2 angstrom. Diameter of the carbon atom is only 2 angstrom. So these things, don't think that it is required only for the first module or it is required only for the case studies. Another second module, third modules, even fourth module, except except one module, that is the carbon, this plastic and rubber, etc. In all modules, these fundamentals are required. If you don't understand the phase, if you don't understand the solution, if you don't understand solvent, components, then later stage it is very, very difficult to understand. You may pass the examination, even first class or distinction also. But understanding, having knowledge, basic knowledge is also very important. If you know the basic knowledge, we can update. Once you join some industry, if you know the basic fundamental knowledge, we can upgrade your knowledge by attending many NPTEL videos or by joining some even online courses, etc. We can update your knowledge. But if you don't know the basic fundamental knowledge, it is very, very difficult to survive in the industry, and whatever may be the type of industries. In once you industry, you can say the study, you can upgrade your applied knowledge, and very, very difficult to upgrade your fundamental knowledge. What knowledge you are gaining during your 4 year, that most of the time it is a fundamental knowledge, up to, especially in the up to 6th semester. So what are the subject you are studying? All are fundamental subject, major subject. Then you may have one or few applied subjects. So now these are the fundamental knowledge that is required for another 2 to 3 module. That's why I'm going very, very slowly. Otherwise, ductile iron, I have cast iron, I have 10 to 20 slides. I can go through. I can spend 2 to 3 minutes. I can explain and can finish it off. The steel, there may be around 10 to 20 to 30 slides. And showing the photos, I can within half an hour can finish. But if you finish, that will not serve the purpose. Now you're talking about the solution. One substitutional solid solution example is copper nickel alloy. Then there is a one more type of solution. Solution means it is a solid solution. Don't think that it is a molten metal. The molten metal consists of copper and nickel is referred as a solution. It is not like that. So once it is solidified and crystallizes, we have copper nickel alloy. That alloy is referred as a solution in your material science, not it is in the liquid state or molten state. Then there is a one more solution, it is referred as interstitial solid solution. The term interstitial means, imagine you are sitting in the classroom, and imagine there is one more school. There is a LKG schools. Those students will come and try to sit in the classroom to see some videos or let's do some movies. All seats are occupied by you in the classroom. Then wherever there is some space is there, those small kids will come and sit in the classroom. There is no separate seating arrangement. Wherever space in the windows or in between the benches, they will still sit or stand. Those spaces are referred to the interstitial space. You are occupied in the classroom, you are sitting in the benches. All benches are closed now. There are some spaces here and there, empty spaces. On all those empty, wherever there is a space is there, the small kids will come and sit in the classroom to see some movies related to some education related movies or videos. That means you are there in the same place. You are not giving seats to them. You are not giving the seats to LKG kids. But when you come to your interstitial solid solution, the substitutional solid solution, the copper is the solute, the solvent. Copper is the solvent because copper alloy, and nickel is solvent. So whenever nickel comes, the nickel is like a guest. So copper will leave the space, and that particular space is given to nickel. So copper is sitting at some corner of your simple cube. Copper atom is there. So whenever nickel comes, it will leave the seat, it goes to some other place, adjacent place. Like whenever a guest comes, you will give the seat normally. Not necessarily, normally. Like that, whenever nickel atom comes, it will give the seat, it will, nickel atom will be substituted by copper atom. This nickel atom will go and occupy some other place, that is after the impurity. But in the case of the steel, just I am giving the analogy so that you can understand better. You are sitting in the classroom, you are not giving the respect to the guest. If the guests are interested to see the videos or lecture, let them sit wherever they want, wherever space is available. You will be just sitting the same benches. So same thing is happening in the case of interstitial solid solution. In the case of interstitial solid solution, we have Fe or iron. Iron is having BCC structure or body centered cubic structure. Each center of each body or each cube, there is a one atom, that is referred as body centered atom. And all 8 corners, there are one atoms are there. That's the iron. Iron is BCC structure, and all corners there are one atom, and one atom at the center of the cube. Hence, it is referred as a body centered cubic lattice structure. So whenever guest is like your copper and this carbon comes, but iron will not leave the seat. You are not giving any respect. If you want, you sit wherever some space is available, you say, go and sit there. Otherwise, you leave our lattice structure, he says. That means wherever there is a space is available within the lattice structure or unit cell, that places are occupied by your carbon atom. The interstitial spaces are occupied by carbon atom. Imagine we have your cup of glass of some container. You are putting some steel balls. You can put the water, because there are the interstitial spaces available. Even the cylindrical shape, your atoms also referred as a cylindrical shape in general. But atoms like your cylindrical balls, steel balls are inside the container box. Still, there are some spaces there. We can put some sand, like a packing arrangement. Imagine you have a box, you are putting some cylindrical balls. Some interstitial space is available in between the balls. That space is filled by sand. But when you're filling the sand, the position of the steel balls remains same. It will not changes. Or the base metal atoms in the lattice structure will not be destroyed or dislocated. The atoms will be as it is in the base metal, or Fe atoms will be as it is. There is no change or substitution of base metal atom. Only the carbon atom will take the interstitial space or in between spaces. It will fill the spaces, and finally it forms the steel. That is the basic concept used in the formation of the steel. The steel comes under interstitial solid solution. First part you have to remember. Second point is, when you come to carbon steel, the major alloying element is carbon. Then, so this carbon atom will not replace the steel atom in the crystal structure or lattice structure. So when during the manufacture of the steel, you are adding carbon to the mortal metal of the steel. During solidification, the carbon atom will occupy interstitial spaces of your BCC structure. Hence, it is referred as interstitial solid solution. Then how much steel amount of carbon we can add? I am giving the same box. It's having cylindrical balls, steel balls. You are putting the sand. After some time, you cannot put the sand because all interstitial spaces are filled, or interspaces are filled with the sand. There is a limitation for adding carbon in the steel. The maximum amount of carbon percentage of carbon we can add into the steel is only 6.7 percentage. So if you add the carbon more than 6.7%, the interstitial spaces are already filled. Carbon will form separate phase that is not part of your steel. That may comes at the top it will form a slag, etc. In the casting, you're going to study over a period of time. You're going to study the cast. That means when you come to interstitial solid solution, there is a limitation or some limitation for how much amount of alloying element you are adding to the instead of saying steel, is the iron. For steel, the iron for the alloy of iron, the maximum amount of carbon we can add is around 6.7%. We cannot add more than that. But when you come to copper nickel alloy, that is having there, it comes under substitutional solid solution. We can have 10% copper and 90% nickel. Then it is of the nickel alloy. Major alloying element is. So next is you are talking about the copper nickel alloy. You can have 90% copper and 10% nickel, or we can have 60% copper and 40% nickel, because one atom is replaced by another atom. You can have 10% copper and 90% nickel, or 95% copper and 5% nickel. We have the option because one atom is substituted by another atom. But in the case of interstitial solid solution like steel, the carbon atom will occupy only the interstitial position. Hence, there is a limitation. I will give you the example, analogy. We have box consists of steel balls. You are putting some amount of sand. Sand is equivalent to your carbon atom. After putting some amount of sand, all interstitial spaces are filled. Then you cannot add sand. If you add sand, then it will form the topmost layer. Topmost layer is only sand. It will not come under your alloying element, because in the case of alloying element, there is a dissolving of the atoms in the level of lattice structure or unit cell level. If you understand that, then you can go ahead with our steel and cast iron. Both steel as well as cast iron are alloy of iron and carbon. I hope you understood the concept of interstitial solid solution. Yes or no? If you have any doubt, I'll clarify. Then I'll go in for putting the slides. If you understand, then the complete the steel and cast iron you can understand better. These are the basic structure. If you have any doubt, you can clarify. So that then we'll go for the cast iron. Again, I think screen is visible now. PPT. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now we'll come to, we have alloy of iron. We are talking about the alloy of iron. Both cast iron and steel comes under alloy of iron. Now you are considering only the carbon steel. Carbon steel means carbon. Alloying element is only the carbon. Major alloying element is carbon. There may be some impurities of other metal also. Now carbon may be present in different form. So you are making the steel or cast iron. If the percentage of the carbon is more than 2.1%, if that would be around, for timing you have to remember the exact percentage later stage. So if the percentage of carbon is more than 2.14%, then it is referred as a cast iron. Or in general, if the percentage of carbon is more than 2%, that will be more than 2%, then the iron carbon alloy is referred as a cast iron. If the percentage of carbon is less than 2.1% or 2.14%, then all those will comes under steel. So that means, so we can classify the iron alloy into two categories based on percentage of carbon. If the percentage of carbon is less than 2.1%, then it is referred as steel. If it is more than 2%, 2.14%, then it is referred as this cast iron. Now we are talking about only the First, we'll finish the cast iron. We are talking only about the cast iron now. Once you say cast iron, the percentage of carbon is very high compared to steel. That's a general point you have to remember. Now, alloying element is carbon. Cast iron major alloying element is carbon. So carbon may be present in the different form. Now, carbon may be present in the different form. There are different form. The one is it may be carbon may be present in the form of flakes. You heard about the flake, like a butter, these chips, banana chips or some other chips. So those are referred to the flakes, or like a thin plates. The thickness is very, very small. The length is slightly more and width is less. Then it is referred as flakes. The flakes is just, you can imagine chips. Even Pepsi, there are many chips are available. If you go to shops, so it is bakery, you can get the chips. That means flakes. Once you say flakes, it is very, very thin. Then width is less and length is more. Then it is referred to the flakes. So in some cases, it may be available in the form of some hard structure, because there may be intermetallic bonding or intermediate bonding, that is referred as cementite. The carbon is reacting with iron and it forms the cementite. Cementite is like Fe plus 3C, it gives 3 Fe3C. Fe3C is nothing but cementite. Just try to listen, don't miss the classes. So these are the fundamental required for your second module, third module, even heat treatment module also. It is not only required here. So that means carbon with a higher temperature, there is a higher temperature, carbon and Fe will react and it forms new compound that is referred as a cementite. Cementite formula is Fe3C. Or carbon may be present in the form of present in the form of graphite. Or carbon react with Fe, it may form cementite, Fe3C. Or carbon may be in the free form. The free form, it is nothing but it is referred as a irregular particles. It is also referred as temper carbon. Temper carbon, it is free form. Carbon is available freely. Free in the sense, it is not, don't think that it is freely moving inside the solid. It is not like that. It is not dissolved in iron. It not forms any reaction with respect with iron. So then it is referred as a free form, having irregular shape. It is a small carbon particle, like a sand particle. The carbon may be in the particle form, or it may be in the spherical form. The graphite, it may be in the spherical form. So when it is the graphite, it is in the graphite. Again, carbon is allotropic. It may changes. The carbon may be present in the form of graphite, or it may be in the form of, you heard about diamond also. So that means the carbon may be present in the form of graphite, or it may be, now you are making alloy of Fe and carbon. So depending upon the percentage of carbon and processing condition, it may be present in the form of flakes, in the form of graphite. Graphite is very soft. Can you give an example for the graphite? You are using regularly you are using the graphite. The pencil lead. It is very soft. Again, it is carbon only. So that may be it may be in the form of particles, or it may be form of flakes. So when it is when the carbon is present in the form of graphite form, graphite is in the form of flakes. Carbon may be in the form of graphite. This graphite may be in the form of flake. There is a carbon may be present in the form of graphite. This graphite may be in the form of the flakes. That's one option. Next, one more option is carbon may be in the form of graphite only. Instead of the flake like a chips, it may be in the spherical form, or it is referred as spheroidal form or nodular form, NODULAR, nodular form. Or in simple classification is carbon may be present in the form of graphite. Again, graphite may be in the form of flakes or in the form of in the spherical form or nodular form. So now, based on how the graphite present in the alloy of iron, we can classify the alloy into two categories. We are talking about the cast iron. If carbon is present in the form of flakes, in the form of graphite, if graphite is in the form of flakes, then that is the microstructure of gray cast iron. I am talking about the gray cast iron. Application properties that you have to remember. I go on putting the slide. You can remember that the application and property of graphite, etc. But basic fundamental thing you have to remember, that you have to understand. Those things we not get so much of explanation in the books also. By our own experience, I am explaining. Now it is not stressed in the books also. Now you are talking about the carbon. Carbon is in the form of graphite. If graphite is in the form of flakes, and if the percentage of carbon is more, it is around 2.5 to 4%, then we'll get in the form of flakes, not in all percentage. At a particular composition, if the percentage of carbon is around 2.5 to 4, and at a particular processing temperature and other parameter, so the carbon in the form of graphite is in the form of flakes, then such type of carbon alloy is called as gray cast iron. Now you can understand. Once you say gray cast iron, immediately you have to remember carbon is in the form of graphite. The graphite is in the form of flake. And flake, so then it is referred to the gray cast iron. Why you are saying gray? Broken piece of cast iron or gray cast iron, it looks like a gray color. Hence it is referred as a gray cast iron. You understood, I think. What is gray cast iron? Gray cast iron is an alloy of iron and carbon. Carbon is in the form of graphite. Graphite is in the form of flakes. Then it is referred to the gray cast iron. Then there is one more opposite category. Opposite in a similar category like a brother. So again, carbon is present in the form of graphite. The graphite is in the form of spherical shape or nodular shape. So then such type of cast iron is referred as spheroidal graphite iron or SG iron. Alright, it is graphite. If you say SG iron, the graphite is present in the carbon is present in the form of graphite. Understood? No. SG iron is G is for the graphite. Already name itself indicate, like your USN number. Once you say 1BY, that name itself indicate you belongs to BMS IT. No need to ask anyone else. Even VT also someone see your USN number. Like that name itself, it indicates it's a SG iron or G for the graphite. The carbon is in the form of graphite. It is in the form of nodular or spherical. Hence, we are referring to it as a SG iron. Or in the simple way, in SG iron, carbon is in the form of graphite. Graphite is in the form of spherical shape or nodular shape. Hence, it is referred as a spheroidal graphite iron or SG iron. It is also referred as ductile iron because of spherical shape. So ductility of the complete metal will be increased. That's why now we are talking about the property ductility. You should know what is ductility. There is one more. If it is there in the graphite form, either it may be gray cast iron, where graphite is in the form of flake, or it may be in the form of nodular cast iron, where the graphite is in form of spheroidal. So in between, there is one more type of cast iron that is referred to the white cast iron. If the percentage is around 1.8 to 3.2% of carbon, so this Fe carbon Fe is joined with carbon at a particular processing temperature, because processing of Hg iron will be different, white iron is different, and your gray cast iron is different. At a particular temperature or processing parameter, Fe is react with carbon, it will forms new compound that is referred as a Fe3C. Fe3 is nothing but a cementite. So if the carbon is present in the combined form, it is already joined with carbon is joined with combined form, is there is only one metal, there is only two people. Once you say, imagine in the one room there are only two people. So so then there is no question of joining with any other people. So in the similar way, here we have all the carbon steel, only two constituents, one is iron and one is carbon. Those two are joined together, it forms new compound. It is referred as intermetallic compound, the intermediate compound, that is referred as Fe3C. Like if you write the chemical equation, so Fe plus 3C gives Fe3C, Fe3C. It is referred as Fe3C. So then it is referred as white cast iron, because it looks, if a broken piece of the carbon, white cast iron looks like a white color, white. Hence it is referred as a white cast iron. In the case of gray cast iron, broken piece looks like a gray color. So hence it is referred as a gray cast iron. Then in between there is one more component, it is a malleable cast iron. In the case of malleable cast iron, again carbon is in the irregular shape. So it is a free form. It is not like a graphite. It is a free form. It is a irregular shape. It is in the carbon form only. Then it is referred as temper carbon. Temper carbon is nothing but temper carbon. It is in the form of particle. There is a difference between particle, flakes, as well as particle, flakes, and spherical shape. The spherical shape, it is like your cricket ball is a spherical shape. The flakes is nothing but I am given the example of chips. The particle is nothing but your sand particle. But here it is irregular shape. In the malleable cast iron, there is one more type of cast iron. It is after malleable cast iron, where carbon is in the free form. It is irregular shape. So now malleable that is referred as a malleable cast iron. Malleable cast iron. Now I think you understood what is cast iron and different what are the different types of cast iron. What is the form? Again, cast iron is a alloy of Fe and C carbon. What are the different way carbon may be present in the different types of cast iron? Now I'll come to the PPT. I'm going a little bit faster. I am sharing this PPT. I'll putting in your Google Classroom. You can refer and photos. Now I'm already talking about ductile iron. Ductile iron is nothing but a spheroidal iron, where carbon is in the form of graphite. Graphite is in the form of spheroidal or globular or nodules. You can say that. Ductile iron. Now I'm putting the points straight away. Graphite is present in the matrix in the form of spheroid or globules or nodules. Then it is after the ductile iron. Because of that ductility of the cast iron is high because of spherical in shape. Especially in the case of graphite, what graphite you are used in your pencil, it is very soft and very, very soft. It strikes. Now this is a microstructure. So you are talking about grain, etc. You are talking about the grain or crystal. This is one grain, this is one more grain, this is one more grain, this is one more grain. These are the grains. The black spots represent one grain, or this is also represents phase, PHASE, phase. You are talking about the liquid phase, solid phase, gaseous phase. In the similar way, within the solid, there are many phases. One is dark phase, and one more is the light background. That is the light phase, PHASE phase. This is the microstructure. I am talking about in the previous, all you are using whatever knowledge we gained during last few classes, all knowledge you are applying for the applied cases. Now you are talking about the grain. The dark phase here, we can see this is dark. This is one grain. You can see the grain here. There is a grain bound like a map, India map or some world map or Karnataka map. So this, the lines represent the grain boundary. This is the grain boundary. This is the dark grain. There is a light grain. So this is nothing but your microstructure. It is not a schematic diagram. This is the actual photograph taken from microscope. The property of ductile iron. So one is it is having ductility, and second one is castability. Cast means you can cast it very easily. Having good, excellent machinability, because machinability is because of spherical shape of graphite. Ductility is again because of spherical shape of the lower density than the steel, and superior lubrication properties. This because of spherical in nature. Graphite in the spherical form is having good lubrication properties. Better damping characteristics, it absorbs vibration. The composition, carbon is around 3 to 4, and silicon. Carbon is a major alloy, but there may be silicon, manganese, sulfur, phosphorus, and magnesium. Try to remember at least carbon percentage. If you're not able to remember remaining percentage, you can write. Also, it consists of a small amount. If you don't remember what is the percentage of silicon or manganese, etc., it also consists of small percentage of silicon, manganese, sulfur, phosphorus, magnesium. You can write in general words, but carbon content you have to remember. Application, I'm not going in detail because these are we can read. So it can be made up of engine crankshaft, brake caliper, disc brake anchor. Those are the components of disc brake. The brake anchor plate, then electrical insulating post and cap, steering knuckle, rack and pinion steering stability assembly. That rack and pinion assembly. For then some other applications are the rolling mills, molding boxes. What you are using molding boxes in your foundry lab, that may be also made up of SG iron or ductile iron. Brake shoes for heavy duty brakes. Brake shoes is especially automotive brakes, not in hydraulic brakes, regular brakes. They will use the brake shoes. Some rolling bearing component, the piston rings, windmill items. Those are the important application. So one of our advantage of this is because of spheroidal nature, it's having good machinability, corrosion resistance, wear resistance, thermal shock resistance. Even at higher temperature, even there is a variation in the temperature, still it will resist the shock load. You are talking about the different types of load. One is steady load, one more is fatigue load or dynamic load. Other than that, there is one more shock load, impact load. It is also referred to the impact load. Like whenever two cars collision occur, then it is referred to the impact load. So thermal shock load is like a satellites. Whenever you are launching the satellite or missiles, there is a sudden change in temperature. When you're moving from after reaching around 12,000 or 12 kilometers in the vertical, suddenly there is a change in temperature. Because of that the temperature change, there may be additional stresses may be created. That is referred as shock loads. So malleable cast iron. So again, malleable cast iron is a heat treated iron carbon alloy. So total carbonate present is in the malleable cast iron. You have to remember it is in the form of cementite. The carbon is present in the combined form. It is in the cementite. There are two types of malleable cast iron. One is white hard and one more is black hard malleable cast iron. The microstructure is like a hard. The background may be white or background may be the black. Based on that, we can say that white hard cast iron, malleable iron, black hard, malleable cast iron. Because microstructure, we are talking about the background of the microstructure. The background of the microstructure or grain structure or twisted structure is white, then it is about the white hard because it is a hard shape. Almost, if it is the background is black, hence it is recorded. You can see. So when you come to white cast iron, it is again cemented against water. It is in the cemented form. White cast iron also, it is in the cemented form. There are different percentage of carbon and different alloying element, manganese, silicon, etc. The carbon is in the form of 1.8 to 3.6. Those are the number. So this is a white cast iron. You can see background is white or cut section looks like a white. This is one grain. This is one more phase. We can say this is one phase. This is one more dark phase and light phase. This is dark phase and this is light phase. and background is almost white, it looks like white cast iron. There's a gray cast iron. It is carbon is in the form of flakes. You can see here flakes. You can see here in the front view. It looks like these are the carbon is in the form of graphite flakes. The malleable cast iron. So malleable cast iron is basically white iron. We have already studied about the white iron. It is in the cemented form. So then when it is undergoes some heat treatment, so then it will convert carbide into graphite. We have white cast iron. Once you go for the heat treatment, we have Fe3C. Fe3C is dissociated into Fe and Fe3 and carbon, and it is forms a carbide and graphite. In simple way, we can say that malleable cast iron is produced from white cast iron by heat treatment. Ductile cast iron or nodular cast iron, you can see here. This is nodular cast iron or ductile cast iron. This is cementite. Fe3C. If the percent of carbon is more, then carbon Fe is joined with carbon. It will form new compound. That compound is referred as cementite. These are the example for white iron. This is white iron because next hour you have a break. I will continue for another 5 minutes. I leave you and 2 to 3 minutes so that I can finish. Then this is an example application of white cast iron. Now it is not painted. Metal itself looks like a white. These are the microstructure. We have Fe3C in the white cast iron. It is a grain structure or microstructure. We have Fe3C here, and there is one more compound. It is what is a perlite or phase. So this is a microstructure. These are the grains. These are the different grains. You have studied about the grains in material science. We are discussing more about grains or crystal. Property of white cast iron: having high compression strength, good hardness, high temperature resistance. The carbide, depending upon other country, extremely, the white cast iron is harder because Fe3 is the hardest compound. The application: sandblasting nozzles. Sandblasting nozzles are mainly used in the casting or foundry section. Once it is cast, to remove the mold, sand from the material, we can use sandblasting technique that in the casting you are going to study. Rolling mills, then drawing dies, especially to draw the wires, the steel wires. It is used in telephone cables or electrical cables that is produced by wires. You can see this is a die. So red hot wire is passed through this die. This is a conical die. So whenever it passes, it will decrease the diameter. This is a pulverizer, grinding of various other materials. This is a cement mixture. This is what is this? This is a tunnel boring machine. Most of the time, it is used in metro underground tunnel boring machine. This surface of blades will be subject to huge amount of wear and tear. Still, it can resist. Malleable cast iron. This is the property. This graphite converted to carbide. This is white hot malleable cast iron. The grain is like a heart shape. It is hence it is hard, and background is white. Hence it is white hot, and similarly black hot cast iron. The chemical composition of malleable iron already studied about. Just remember at least what is the percentage of carbon. And remaining, we can say that small amount of boron, copper, nickel, molybdenum, etc. If you are able to remember, it's okay. Otherwise, you can write. Composition of malleable cast iron. Major alloying element is carbon. You can say around 2 to 2.9%. Remaining may be silicon, manganese, sulfur, phosphor. Properties: ductile iron possesses considerable ductility, toughness because of nodular graphite, and those are the properties. These are the mechanical properties. The malleable cast iron, it can be widely used in pipe fittings. You can see the pipe fitting, metal pipe, chain hoist assembly. You can see some of the assembly parts. Railroad equipment, also industrial casters. It already was seen, repeated, I think. When you come to gray cast iron, there are different grades. Gray cast irons are used for gears, automotive suspensions, pumps, stove parts, tractor parts, truck suspension component, wind turbine housing, machine bases. These are the application. There are three types of gray cast iron: class 300, class 200, class 100. That will finishes your cast iron. It will comes under your case study question. In the examination, they have asked for microstructure, properties, and applications of gray cast iron or malleable cast iron or white cast iron or SG iron. There are 3-4 types of cast iron. Out of that, one or two may come for your case study. But first and foremost is you have to write what is the form of carbon. It is a graphite form or cemented form or free form. If it is graphite form, whether it is in a spherical form or flake form, those things you have to explain. I think next class also I'll spend around 5 to 10 minutes. I'll put the slides one thing and a little bit fastly at the last moment I'll gone. So okay, if you have any question, any of this complete PPT, I'm putting in the Google Classroom. So that case study question I have taken from different sources. Case study questions, you have to see the different sources. Any of PPT is available. And basic information is available in the textbook, your textbook, Material Science by Punish. That also you can refer. Along with that, you can refer PPT also. What is there in your Punish that is sufficient for your examination. And case study question, you have to track more of practical applications. Then better to refer this PPT. This PPT in the PDF form, I'll put it in the Google Classroom in the next Monday or Tuesday. I'll put because I plan to update it a little bit. So okay, if you have any doubt, you can discuss now. Otherwise, you can leave. But